Well, thank you so very much for joining the session today. I am Joshua Yeager. I serve as principal at Perry Central High School, and today's session is going to be entitled It Works, an Innovative Approach to School Turnaround. And so many times, as administrators gather together, we talk about different ideas and that may sound good on paper, but and practicality, it may not work well for specific schools or specific environments or certain areas or demographics. But I tell you, the research has been proven, and theory is good when you're trying to convey a new idea and what the research states about it. And just a brief overview of who I am. I started doing innovative work about 10 years ago in another area of the state, in another district, and I was exposed to a lot of innovation. And as the years have passed down, I've able to see what has worked well and what needed to be tweaked and what really ultimately maximizes the capacity of all students and faculty, in addition to stakeholders as well. So the session today is entitled "It Works: An Innovative Approach to School Turnaround." I want to first start off by our school district's vision and mission. It is to foster a nurturing and academically stimulating environment where every student can excel and every school is a beacon of excellence in education. Our mission is to empower students with knowledge, skills, and values to become productive citizens and lifelong learners through quality education, financial stability, and strong community engagement. So, the introduction to high school turnarounds in Mississippi, I want to set the context for you so you can understand that we still have persistent academic underachievement in specific areas. Even though we have seen our literacy numbers increase, we have seen our graduation rates increase, we have seen our performance on the state assessment program increase, we still have some persistent underachievements in specific areas. As a whole, the state is headed. I believe you understand that we're headed to school choice, and now it's the administrator's time to sell your campuses, to sell your schools, and try to convey the message to the stakeholders. Two or three good things that you as a school can do and offer to foster a positive and nurturing and encouraging education for students. However, we are in the midst of innovation. We are in the need of innovation, and because we are now entering a world of competition and where school choice is going to be rampant, we've got to understand what innovation is, how it looks, and how it looks in your specific building. And we're going to cover things from the master schedule all the way down to you, the individual leader, and the purpose is to explore the innovation and the turnaround strategy specific to Mississippi high schools. There are key challenges facing Mississippi high schools. Even though we have increased our graduation rates, Mississippi's graduation rate lags behind the national average and underfunding and resource gaps as well. Disparities in funding across school districts. And that is a real issue. A prime example, and I'll break it down to you in layman's terms, some school districts can afford dual credit opportunities that can maximize some of our acceleration component. And some school districts do not have the funding to be able to compete and have an equal approach to those kind of fill those gaps. And those disparities are real. Teacher shortages, we know that there is a high turnover and insufficient professional development um, and that is the basis of teacher shortages. And with the research that many have conducted as of late in our state, it plainly portrays that it's not a financial issue as it once was. It plainly states that it's not because the teachers don't like or love to teach. It all points back to that administrator and leadership. Uh, are these teachers being supported? And when we say supported, are we talking about we're going to check a box and we're going to make sure we have a monthly mentor meeting? We're going to make sure we have a smooth onboarding process, or are we just giving them a key and a textbook and say, here, have at it, learn? You know, the generation of teachers today is quite different from a lot of us and what we're used to from 10, 15, 20 years ago, and even 5 years. There is quite a difference in our new novice teachers. And of course, community engagement, and there's a disconnect between schools and local communities, especially in rural areas. And there's a difference between a rural high school and one that is in a metro area. Now, granted, I believe the majority of all of our high schools in Mississippi federally are considered rural. Our state is most definitely, but there are some pockets of schools that have different communities and larger populations, and they separate themselves from really the aspect of what rural education really and truthfully looks like. We're going to take a look at that disconnect, and we're going to take a look at how a rural school leader embodies the same role as your elected officials. If you are in a rural area, and I'll use Perry County for example, the high school principal seat, it is very much just like an elected official seat. People come running to that high school principal. And if you accept that role, you need to understand that a lot of your personal time, as though it's very important, you may lose that personal touch, so to speak. And we have different characteristics that we have to embody in rural Mississippi for sure. So the first innovative approach that we're going to talk about is one that I feel is very important, and I've titled this "Personalized Learning Models." And we're going to talk about master scheduling, student-centered, teacher shortages, community engagement, and data-driven instruction, and flow groups with Flex. And I'll explain what those are. First and foremost, your master schedule is the nucleus of your school. In a lot of schools, counselors, in a lot of schools, emphasis coordinators at central office, they will compose a master schedule. However, I have discovered, and many of us have discovered over just trial and error, that the master schedule needs to be one of the most focal points and focused areas, because now we have a student population that needs individualized programs of study. We need to revamp this taking all of the ninth graders and throwing them in and allowing for auto population. That is bygone, and it's a past day era. What we need to focus on when we talk about master scheduling, first and foremost, you definitely need to set the times that support our common end goal, and most of the time it is around state testing. However, we have got to become innovative and be able to develop programs of study, yes, that embodies our state assessments and embodies those supports. And you can do just that while creating an innovative program of study for your students. When you talk about master scheduling and flex grouping and flow groups, it's standard procedure now, where you take your fours and fives and put them in, then you put your threes, and then you put your ones and twos. I hope that it works out like that for you. And that's one thing we will talk about in open discussion. And if there's anything left unsaid today in this session that you would like more information on, please feel free to reach out to me. But the most important thing is building a schedule, yes, that of course supports the overall needs of the district, but most importantly, the needs of your students. And I'll give you an example of what we've done at Perry Central High School. We now have a tracker. We track every student from incoming ninth grade all the way to their senior year. We began tracking that in the ninth grade, and we place students according to how they performed on their eighth grade assessments. And at Perry Central, we I test a very small group of ninth graders in Algebra 1 and in biology as a freshman. The majority of our freshmen do not test. If they were not proficient in eighth grade, they will not test until their 10th grade year. And you're like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? You mean you're going to have a large population of students who take a biology exam, an English 2 exam, and an Algebra 1 exam in their 10th grade year? And my answer to that is yes. Oftentimes, we test students way before they are ready to test. And when you're building that master schedule, you want to always make sure that you have an aligned and accredited class that coincides with that MAAP course, where if you have to pull a student out by the 15th of March or by the 30th of October, you can do so and have a class that's very similar to which they are taking, so that they can have that extra seat time to prepare for that state assessment. We quickly realized that we were testing our students way too soon, and it was hard to reach proficiency levels. It was hard to track growth in doing so. So the master schedule is very important. You also want to take time to consider the electives that you are offering. As we move forward into this new accountability model, we as high schools are going to have to put a greater emphasis on the ACT and the ACT work keys. So instead of creating electives that you just have just to put students in to fill an elective, we need to become innovative and have an ACT prep English, an ACT prep math, an ACT prep science, an ACT prep reading courses embedded in each grade level. It's also important to begin tracking that ACT performance. In addition to the ACT, it's the work keys as well, and that a lot of times is left in the hands of the career technical education facilities, and they do a great job with it. But now we have embedded the work keys in at Perry Central High School as actual classes, as actual electives, as actual boot camps. We track those 2 year completers at least a silver level, and we track those non CTE students to try to get them gold and platinum. And we utilize some curriculum that's really good, and it has a really good proven track record, and we track them. And then when we give them those pre-assessments and post-assessments and we see where their deficiencies are from 9th, 10th grade, we then create or develop a flow group of those particular students, and then develop a course for them that they can receive that elective, and they can also receive the proper instruction that explicitly identifies and supports those gaps that were found in those assessments. And doing that, you also have to make sure that your teachers understand what work keys are. So what we did at Perry Central is we took the blueprint of the work keys assessment, and there's over 400 standards on the ACT, and that was a difficult task to do. But what we did was we identified those anchor standards, those main objectives, and we developed an in-house plan, a structured plan of what standards we covered each and every day, so we could identify and provide that explicit instruction. So your master schedule is very important when trying to maximize the capacity of all learners. And then, in addition to all of that, you have to make sure that you also meet the needs of those students who have either beyond the MAP testing and focusing in on the ACT and graduation, or those who are not quite ready to test. You need to make sure you developed those courses that will identify those gaps and issues. And we call that flow group reflects. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that is later on. Student centered, yes, we understand the basics of that. Is, I tell some of the teachers, the novice teachers especially, and even some of those who are seasoned, that no one really cares in the building how much knowledge we have. And I'll use me for an example. When I was teaching U.S. history many years ago, I thought it was a great point of view to lecture and to share all of this knowledge. But then I had to ask myself, what were the kids doing? We always say the basics of good teaching is making sure the students are engaged, making sure they understand and learn what we were going to teach. And one thing that we have instilled at Perry Central is what we call breaking down the standards, the BDS form that we created, where the standard is taught that day. We look to make sure that those tier 1 and tier 2 words within that standard are understood by a vocabulary builder called Marzano vocabulary. And some of us understand and remember what the non-linguistics versus the linguistics and the antonyms and synonyms of those words. And we do that before we even get into the main part of the lesson. And that gives the students time to identify those very important tier 1 words. And they allow to break down the actual action. So you take that basic standard and you take the verb that is in that standard and you apply it to the nouns, the person, place, and thing of the noun. And when you do that, the student does it. You actually are teaching that standard before you even get up and teach a lesson. But it's all student centered. The personalized learning models, I've got teacher shortages in here because it is real. There are schools who are suffering from having certified accredited teachers within the classrooms, and so they have to either go with a long-term sub or a paraprofessional, and those are some issues. And I'm going to tell you two different points. One, you can take a subject and develop that outline for that teacher, or you can be innovative and utilize a platform like Edmentum, where they actually have the curriculum already aligned with the state standards that can be utilized as a blueprint. Because teacher shortage is real, we've got to be innovative. You can't wear out your teaching staff, your licensed teaching staff. You utilize them as support services, of course, but teacher shortages is a real issue. Let's talk about community engagement a minute. We talked about rural education in the introduction. And as a principal of a rural school, you have to understand that you are at the top and that you are a figure within that community. Whether it be you go and you go to the local grocery store and you go to the gas station, you do all these things, or you go to the supervisor's meeting, or you go to the town hall meetings, you are a political image within that community. And by agreeing to become a rural school leader, you have to understand that the capacity that job entails. And it's so important to make sure you always carry a positive light about who you are, because at the end of the day, your school is an exact reflection of you as an individual. Community engagement is huge. We have to, as rural school leaders, we have to maximize the capacity of our local resources. And what that is and entail is whatever type of employment agency you have, whatever type of organizations you have in your communities, and some have several and some have very few, you have to maximize that relationship. You have to step aside and say, this isn't about me. This is not about anything that I'm trying to do. I may not like this certain individual, or they may not like me, but we've got to put that aside, because we have to do what's best for our students, and we have to maximize the capacity of not only our students, not only of our parents, but as and faculty, but our stakeholders at large and in the community. Sometimes you go to an event, you don't have to stay the entire time, but just being seen and shaking a hand or two and smiling along the way goes very, very far. Community engagement is so important. Here in Mississippi, we seem to find ourselves struggling to trying to connect the school environment with the families. and in the community. And there was a great book that we have initiated this year. My good friend Nathan Lawler published a book that talked about educator professionalism and the role of the ethics of the educator, and how the school systems need to remain at the top of the pyramid with the level of respect. And the only way that our community is ever going to learn exactly what it is that we do and how we embody all of our greatness is if they understand the day-to-day needs of what our teachers go through and what our administrators go through. So we did a community-wide book study with Mr. Lawler's book, and how it impacted the local school and the community. We're actually in the midst of that right now, and we're excited about the outcomes of that, because now those parents who took involved in that, and you may sit there and say, well, my parents will not do that. You would be surprised at the parents that would take part in a teacher parent book study together. You can do it virtually. You can do it. You can meet face to face. There's several ways that you can do it. And if you would like more information about that, just let me know. We're going to move on to data-driven instruction. It is so important. We all know what bubble kids are. We all know how to place our students in certain classes. But data-driven instruction is also important when you look at student attendance. And you're like, what has that got to do with student attendance? I'm going to tell you. Some of us, the majority of us, the kids just don't want to come to school anymore. Now, unfortunately, a lot of the parents do not believe that it is a priority for students to come to school. And you say, no, 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 no. Parents, they do. In light, they'll say that. But we have those students who do not attend school regularly. Have you ever taken the time to swipe your data? What do you mean by swipe your data? You need to clean your data up. You need to be able to identify, of course, those students who are not present. You need to be able to know why they're not present. What outliers are prohibiting them? Is it the class that they start off the day with? Is it a transportation issue? Is it a home issue? Is it a teacher issue? Is it something? What is the cause of these attendances? When you take a look at that data, you'll then be able to see a theme. There will be a theme that becomes present, and that will give you a clear understanding of where and how to proceed moving forward. One thing we've started a couple of years ago at Perry Central was a program called ASAP. It's after school attendance program. And I stagger my teachers. I have an early morning crew and an afternoon crew. Some come in a little earlier, some come in a little later, and they stay before school or after school to make up seat time. Our golden numbers at Perry Central is, once you get to 5, we start holding parent-teacher conferences, parent administrator conferences, in reference to the attendance requirements. And once they get to day 9, they begin to stay for ASAP, and they have to sign up and go with that teacher. And for every day that they miss, they have to make up the seat time hours before school or after school. And the first year it was quite difficult, but it set a clear definition that we are standing on business to ensure that students are in school. If they are not in school, then they have to come before or after, and the transportation is solely that parent's responsibility. And it works. So when I first got to Perry Central, our ADA was around 85-6%. We're hovering around 94-95% now consistently. And our kids really love and enjoy coming to school. Principals have to make that environment that is conducive for teachers to be able to teach, and also have to produce an environment where the kids want and desire to come to school. Flow groups with Flex is another thing that we have instilled and started at Perry Central. And flow groups is simply a subgrouping of students. We subgroup all of our students from U.S. history to biology to algebra to English 2 to ACT Work Keys to the ACT through CTE as well. Those students who would be successful completing those 2 year programs, we subgroup them. In addition, we originally had a traditional 4x4 block, and then we shifted to a modified block where we have first block, second block, third block, and then we took our fourth block and we did fourth period and fifth period. The state requires at least 48 minutes of instruction for year-long classes. And fourth period for all students is what we call Bulldog block. It's a flex scheduling model. And on Mondays and Tuesdays, we focus strictly on the ACT, and we utilize a curriculum that tracks their performance, and it gives us the reports of the deficiencies. And then on Tuesdays, we implement what we call Level All. It is a completely free program where students explore their career paths, students explore social and emotional learning, they explore how to cope and how to deal with certain situations. It's a beautiful product, and it's Level All. And Perry Central was the first high school in the state to implement that. And the students enjoy it. The teachers enjoy it because everything's scripted. The lesson plans are already there, and it's a step-by-step guide. And it's also a great piece for college and career readiness as well. And we track that. And then on Wednesdays, we call that Winning on Wednesdays, where we take character words, and students have the opportunity to go out and on our 98 News broadcast class, media class, and they get to make videos and poems and different songs and dances that reflect on those theme words, and they have a blast with it each and every day. And then Friday, we challenged every teacher to develop a club that would engage all the students. So every one of the staff members at the school have their own club. They meet every Friday for 48 minutes, and it can be from anything from they've had a Super Nintendo club to a gardening club, to a card game club, to a cooking club, to a future educators club. Anything. My head football coach created a club for leadership program, leadership induction. And we have a future educators club as well. The students look forward to that 48 minutes every Friday. It's fun, it's engaging, and the teachers really enjoy it as well. When you do all of those things, you make sure that you remain consistent with them, and that you track everything that you do, just like you track your state assessment data. Because if you do not, what you deem to be important, your teachers will follow and understand the importance. And then students are resilient. They're going to rise to what is standing in front of them and the expectation that they have each and every day. In the beginning, some students may be disgruntled. They may not want to do it. But as long as we remain consistent, students are resilient. Anything from innovative approach number 1 that was discussed that you would like to know further, please shoot me an email, and I'd love to have a conversation with you. The innovative approach number 2 is community and school partnerships, maximizing the capacity of local resources. We talked about that earlier, and I won't spend a whole lot of time on that, but it's so important that we maximize the capacity of all local resources, and every local entity can impact the school in one shape, form, or fashion of the other. Support services. We live in a time where students may not be mentally strong as they once were. We've got to have wraparound support services, whether it be mental health, whether it be just general counseling, whether it be family and home disconnects, whatever it is. I challenge you to be able to identify your students. And some of you have large schools, but you also have grade level principals, and you can challenge them for whatever grade that they have to learn and know all of their students. Parent and community involvement is huge. We talked about that earlier as well, about different things that you can do to engage the community and invite these businesses to your ball games, and invite these businesses to have a role within your school. One thing we started at Perry Central a few years ago was I always have coffee, and I always try to have donuts or cake there in our coffee room. So our local law enforcement or our firefighters or supervisors, they want to stop by the office and say, hey, I'm here. I want to sign in, and I want to just walk the hall of the school and go by and give me a cup of coffee or anything like that. It's a great investment. It keeps those important people always in vision, in sight, to know what's going on with a local school, because at the end of the day, your community is an exact reflection of your school, and your school is an exact reflection of your community. And of course, outcomes. We all want positive outcomes, and these outcomes that we have and we discuss and we talk about are fruitile to making sure that we have wholesome schools for our students and families. Our innovative approach number 3 is teacher development and support. We'll spend a little time here because this is one of my babies for sure. Teachers get tired of common basic PLC practices. Teachers get tired of those long meetings that we all know take. It is one of those funny memes that you always see teachers going to a PLC. But job embedded professional development is very important, because JEPD can be found at any time, at any class period in our school. Uh, we very seldom stay after school for PLCs, because we embed it within the course of the day. Our JEPD is the hub of what we do in those meetings, come from What Works Clearinghouse. If you're not familiar with WWC, you need to make sure you do, because in those PLC meetings, our teachers are practitioners. I call my teachers practitioners because that's exactly what they are. When teachers develop a creed of being loyal to the profession, and not only being loyal to the profession, but embodying that practitionership where they practice that instruction every day and they continuously improve it. It is on that improvement model, that a continuous improvement model, where they advance their teaching practices, and when they do that, they learn new instructional routines from What Works Clearinghouse, and it's a great tool for sure. In addition, when we do our PLCs, yes, we identify certain students, and we identify the struggles, and we identify the strengths of certain students, and we do discuss them within our meetings. But the overall goal is this development time for educators, a real educational time for them. But you've got to be able, as a principal, the key to this is fostering an environment where teachers feel that they are the backbone of what's going on, and they are. We know as principals, it's our schools, and we have to make sure that we foster that environment for all. But we've got to do a better job in investing in our teachers. You talk about teacher shortages. It's going to continuously increase. I don't believe we'll ever get that situation to cease. But where people will stay when they feel like they are important and needed. A teacher's efficacy is so monumental in the fact that teachers can only do what they believe they can do. But if we create an environment to make them the heroes of our building, and we support them and we invest in them, and let me pause right here and insert this. Oftentimes, we as school leaders, if we have a teacher who has a different personality than that of most, we just try to check them off and write them off and think that they are no good. But in my experience, we have to put away personality and differences, because no matter what you do, if you want to move from good to great, one thing you have to realize is you cannot change personality. Personalities are going to be there, and you've got to be able to foster an environment where you remove the personality barrier and you invest wholeheartedly in your teachers. There's been times in my career where I've had to put certain teachers on some type of improvement plans, and in doing so, it scared them in the beginning. But at the end of it, they said, "I'm so thankful for that because these honest, truthful conversations, not just telling you what you need to do, but actually modeling that, which will go into our collaborative teaching models instead of systemic teacher observations." We all are charged with doing teacher observations and submitting those at the end of every school year, but you can do them um, every day, ongoing from day one to day 180. And you're like, how can you do that? I have so much stuff on my plate and I have so many things going on. Well, let me just break it down to you like this. You say, I can't get into classrooms every day. I can drop in and drop out, but I can't co-teach and I can't model. Teachers appreciate so much when that principal goes into that classroom or that assistant principal or that instructional coach and says, hey, I'm not here to observe and check boxes and tell you what, identify your weaknesses. I'm here so we can learn together and we're going to co-teach this. I was not a biology person at all. I didn't know much about biology. I had a new incoming biology teacher this year, first time biology teacher. And I told her at the beginning of the year, I said, we're going to learn this together and I'm going to be in your classroom every day. You're like, wait a minute. I can't be in classrooms every day. Let me tell you, if it's the end of the month and your paycheck does not hit, you're going to central office. They tell you, okay, to be tomorrow. Well, tomorrow comes and your paycheck does not come to central office, doesn't come to your bank account. The eagle never lands in your account. You're going to central office and you're going to demand that payment. And you're going to do that every day until you get your money. And you're going to expect to get paid on time because that's a priority for you. If you make instructional practice a priority, if you make co-teaching with teachers a priority, if you make investing your teachers a priority, that's going to be your number one focus. At Perry Central High School, the people in the community, people at central office, and my teachers will tell you, you can't find Principal Yeager because one minute he's here, the next minute he's here. My chair that I bought when I got here almost 3 years ago, I've sat in it very, very seldom, and it looks brand new. I'm never in the office. I'm never just standing in the hallway. I'm always found in the classroom, co-teaching and engaging, helping the teacher to engage those students every day, all day. That's what it takes. And in essence, when you do that, it also develops those mentorship programs. It's very important that you pair certain teachers with the right novice teacher because you don't want somebody that has personality issues and you don't want conflict to arise. And you want to be very careful at who you deem to be a mentor teacher. You want to make sure that wholesome trust is there. You want to make sure that they carry your vision as a school leader of where you want your school to be. It's a very important part of teacher development. And all of that leads to positive outcomes. Teacher development and support is crucial. It is the backbone of what keeps our teachers here. And I'm going to tell you, some of you may know this, but teachers will drive 35, 45 minutes to go to work where they feel appreciated, where they feel a sense of loyalty. And at the end of the day, the most important peoples in the district are the school teachers. School teachers make it. It's not the principal. It's not the superintendent. Yes, the principal may have the most difficult job, but the most important job is that school teacher. And if your teachers feel that you as a leader embrace that, they will do whatever it takes for you to be successful. Innovative approach number 4, the digital career readiness pathways. It's very important when you talk about flow kids and bubble kids and moving your kids and following the data to build your master schedules, that you integrate CTE within those courses and you allow the students to have access to those career pathways. We are fixing to shift our thought process on college career readiness. We're beginning to shift our outcome measures for acceleration and on the ACT. And it's important that CTE is a backbone to your instructional practices and routines each and every day. You can do that by interest programs. If you may have a great CT program, but your programs may be outdated. They need to be revamped because our kids change. The programs that were great 20 years ago may not be great today, and then again, they may be. It's time to take a reflection piece, take a step back, and say we've got to do some changes as well. Another thing is to involve all IHLs in your school. I'm surrounded by Jones Junior College, William Carey University, and the University of Southern Mississippi, and all three colleges are in our campus. We have dual credit with all three programs. We have a new program. We established an academic education media platform. We have an entire newsroom. We have the cameras, we have the mics, we have the lights, we have the desk, we have all of the news reporting. We have T-shirts for those students. And we have Broadcasting 1 and Broadcasting 2. And Broadcasting 2 now is a partnership with University of Southern Mississippi for a dual credit opportunity. So you need to maximize all of your local universities because they can help you. It paints a beautiful picture for your school, and it allows for different opportunities such as lab schools. If you're not familiar with what laboratory schools are, it's where that local high school can be a lab school for incoming or practicing or future educators and future administrators, and where they apply the latest research into practice with our teachers. We did that 2 years ago with the University of Southern Mississippi in our social studies department, and we were a lab school for USM and the history department, where they brought in all of these latest trends of instructional practices, and they brought in all of these new ideas that supported a lot of social studies structure, and they worked with the professors, and they brought in the new research, and we embedded it within our curriculums, and it was a huge success. Accelerated programs, if you are a school that focuses more on dual credit as opposed to AP and IB and Cambridge and things of that nature because of financial issues, if you go and do the research, you'll find that you can have a small group of these different type of accelerated programs, and some are free and some are not, but you need to maximize those to your greatest abilities. And the next thing I want to talk about is the media opportunities. You paint and sell your school every day. You portray what your school is. If you increase your media opportunities to your students and faculty and your school, every time somebody hears East 98, every time somebody hears 98 News, they know they're talking about Perry Central High School. They see their students out on the media widescreens, and they are reporting on their school. Not only does that become an engaging course of instruction for the students, but it also gives a time for you to allow your students and teachers and in the community to really take part of making the school great, because they're going to put all the positive information out there. They're going to spread the light. They're going to spread the good news. They're going to put all of the energy into mass media production for your school. If you don't do that, you need to really, really look at that. We've got some media platforms that we invested in and purchased, and it really and truly has blessed our school. And I'm so excited about where we are. I'm excited about where we're going, and I can't wait to get there. And the fifth innovative approach is innovative accountability. There's just a few points here that I want to share that I've seen that school leaders struggle with. When you come into a school, you say, well, I'm going to maximize my growth. I've got to move this accountability. I got to move this letter grade. I got to do this. I got to do that. And we focus on the growth first. But that is a huge dismal failure, because what you do is you maximize your growth in year 1 and year 2. And then the only way you're going to be able to sustain that growth is if you continuously max your growth out. You can't do that every year, and you may go from a C to an A, or a B to an A, or a D to a B in year 1 and 2, but come year 3, you're going to go right back down and lose, because there no way you can continuously maximize your growth. The key is to begin working on your proficiency levels from day one. Focus on that tier 1 quality instruction. That is the key of proficiency. Hey, and you may be an administrator who struggles with identifying if that teacher is nailing that standard. It may be a great lesson. It may be an engaging lesson. It may be a fun lesson, but that lesson does not pinpoint the standard that teacher is supposed to be instructing the student upon. Tier 1 instruction is crucial for proficiency. When you maximize your proficiency in chunks, it is a slower process, but you will see once you get to year 3 and your proficiency begins to increase, your growth is going to trail in behind it at the right pace. And when you do that, year 3 and 4, you're going to be at a high performing status, and it's going to be self-sustaining. It's not like it's going to just work this year and next year and go back to where we were. It will be self-sustaining. Why? Because you've mastered your proficiency. Proficiency is where it is each and every day for quality instruction. Identify and move small cohorts of special populations daily. You as a school leader need to understand who your special pops are, what circumstances or what gaps they have, and what are you doing every day to move those cohorts of kids, because that's your LPS. You'll be able to move them every day. You need to track their growth and their performance every day. You do so with your inclusion teachers in your data, or your interventionist. That's what you do to make sure that you maximize those. And finally, the powerful threes controlled by the principal. That's your acceleration, your CCR, and your graduation rate. There's 3 boxes on the accountability model that I call the powerful 3, because a good school leader is going to be able to dictate that CCR component, that acceleration component, and the participation part of that, and the majority of the performance on that. If you track that data just like you do with your MAAP data, you'll be able to control the outcomes of that. When you control all of that, your graduation rate takes care of itself. So we know that's the big 200 box of graduation rate. And small schools, small high schools that have 55 students graduating, and you lose one, that's a large percentile. You automatically drop to that 90th. You lose 2, you're going to be around that 85th percentile. And that is below where we're trying to be. So it's important for you to monitor every student. When you identify those at-risk students early in the 9th grade, you begin putting things in place there to catch them before they fall. When you do that, you build those relationships over time, and I promise you will see them to graduation. You build that relationship with those parents, you will become successful in that. If you want to know any more information in reference to innovative accountability, please reach out and let me know. If you need to get in touch with me, the phone number to the school is 964-3235. You can reach me at jyager@pcsdms.us. You can look at our local website at pchs.pcsdms.com, or you can reach me. I'm on Twitter at Principal Yeager. I'm also on LinkedIn as Joshua Yeager. And you can reach out to me. I have a Facebook page. It's strictly for educational purposes, and it's a follow those. You can also look up the Principal Think Tanks. We do a monthly virtual Principal Think Tank where I've got about 74 or 5 principals in the state now that are on that list, and I send out a little survey of what they would like to learn more about, and they send the information back to me. I do a lot of research and try to pull in everything I can, and we walk away from those virtual meetings with crucial, tangible, realistic solutions. And it is a great thing to do. So thank you again for joining this. By aligning our vision and leveraging our strengths and adapting to change, we're confident in the ability to succeed. Again, thank you. My name is Josh Yeager, Service Principal at Perry Central High School. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and reach out to me if you have any questions. Go Dogs, and God bless.